So give me the pleasure again of extending to you all the opportunity to welcome Martin Luther King III to our community. All right.
Good morning, and I am so honored to be in Fort Wayne at this particular time. For on yesterday, 56 years ago, my father came to this community and delivered a message. And so I was honored to, even though I didn't get to really do what I intended to do or wanted to do, I was honored just to be here. And I want to thank Reverend McGill and all of those who are responsible for our having this opportunity. As we stand at the foot of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Bridge. Beautiful, beautiful bridge, and certainly now I guess 5 or 6 years old. Thanking the community for naming this bridge in his honor. But I have to think about where we are today in this nation that we call home. For while we as a nation have certainly made progress, when it comes to the issues of poverty, racism, and Dad said militarism, but I add violence, we need to ask, where are we on those issues in 2019? Because a nation with a multi-trillion-dollar economy should not have poverty at all. That should be unacceptable. A nation that is as diverse as these United States of America should really not even have racism. It's all right to promote your own ethnicity, but you don't have to do that and diminish anyone else. Right. That's what racism does. It makes one person feel superior, or one ethnic group, to another. And we are a United States of America, but we're not operating yet in a united way. In fact, I would venture to say we're probably more separated in one sense today than we've ever been. And I am one, I'm sure Reverend McGill and others also, who prays for the president to become a better president, not a president that constantly divides. Because I believe that's what my father would do. But in addition, he would challenge this nation. When we look just at the African American community, who last year spent over $1 trillion. I mean, I don't even know if we can imagine what $1 trillion is. But as one community, over $1 trillion. We have African American banks in this nation, but yet not one of those banks has $1 billion in it. So think about if you had 10 banks and $100 billion, then what could be done in communities in terms of entrepreneurship, creating jobs and opportunities, elevating the community. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to create that climate yet. And so that is part of one of the things that we can consider in this nation. Let me go to violence very quickly, and then I don't know where the Lord's going to lead me, but have your way. Have your way. But I only wanted to say a few things this morning. Violence sometimes is the language of the unheard. Again, we live in a very sophisticated nation, but yet when it comes to resolving conflict, we, I believe, are God's highest creation. That is, human beings. But when we get ready to resolve a conflict, we resort to lower animal means to resolve it. So we want to today shoot someone. In the past, we would hit them or stab them. But now we want to just take them out. So as God's highest creation, why do we not use reason? Why do we not use what God gave us, our minds, to really come to real terms as to how do we resolve scenarios where the temperature gets very hot? All of us, all human beings get angry sometimes. But it's how you choose to react to the anger that you have that must be contained and controlled. Now, what we ought to be angry about is how our society mistreats many in that society. Our society mistreats poor people. That's black folk and white folk. Our society certainly mistreats other ethnic groups, Latinos sometimes. We have immigration issues. And right now, there are thousands of people at the borders who can't get in. And we want to blame those people who are coming for asylum because in their countries they are being mistreated. There's no opportunity. So either we can help create opportunity in their countries, or we can do humanely what is just and right and create opportunities for them responsibly to come in the country. But we don't put them in cages like they're animals. But that's what we're doing right now. And America should be ashamed of itself for housing children and women and families in cages. We are better than the behavior we're exhibiting. We are much better than that. And so, yes, there's a crisis, and there are too many people attempting to get in. And maybe we can't let everyone in, but we can create a responsible way to allow people to come into our country. In fact, the interesting thing about it is that all of us, at least everybody I see here, we all immigrated from somewhere. I mean, unless you're a Native American, unless you're Indian or Native American or First Nation people, you immigrated here. So you had to get here. So we can't sort of get here and then once we get here, close the door and say nobody else can come in. That's just not right. And there's some kind of harmonic force. There's something called karma, which says you reap what you sow. So when you mistreat someone, at some point, you're going to be mistreated. And then you're going to be going, well, why am I being mistreated? Because we have done something to the least of these. So we got to do better. You know, we stand here before Dad's image and words to one of his most profound speeches. And elements of the dream may have come to fruition. But my God, we still have a long way to go. The work is not finished. The job is not done. But he and his team, and my mom throughout her life and her team, showed us that it only takes a few good women and men to bring about change. That's it. Now, I want to shift a little bit because we're talking about Dad. I got to say something about Mom because it was Mom who worked throughout our nation in many ways to help create the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Not her alone, it was many people. Stevie Wonder was involved, and many. In every community, there's some giant who was working to ensure that we'd have a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Mom went and visited every member of the United States Senate and most members of Congress and lobbied and asked them to support the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday deal. When she first started, President Reagan said he was not going to sign a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday bill. But after a number of years, a few years working, in 1983, President Reagan said, I'll be honored to sign a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday bill. That certainly is a direct result of my mom. The Martin Luther King Center that she and her team built is a direct result of Mom. The continuation of Dad's legacy is a result of Mom. Mom was involved in peace demonstrations. And Dad used to say that I could not do what I did if I did not have a very strong woman standing beside me. Not behind me, but beside me. And who in consultation often would provide advice, because Mom actually was involved in the peace movement before Dad. Most folks don't know that. When Mom was in college at Antioch College, she was sent to peace demonstrations before she got to graduate school and met Martin Luther King Jr. They read many of the same books. That's what brought them together. And so it was a team effort. And over 50 years later today, I'm sure Mom and Dad are looking down on our nation and saying, what are we going to do to make this nation what it should be? And that's every one of us. It's not an individual crusade. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to create community. His last book was entitled, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? Obviously, he wanted us to achieve community. That quest is still true right this moment. Where are we going to go from here? Chaos or community? And finally, this morning, I always close with these words because I had the opportunity to travel with Dad 7 or 8 times, and I traveled with Mom hundreds of times over the years because she lived much longer, obviously. But she took me once to her undergraduate institution, Antioch College. And at that college, there's a statue of the educator, Horace Mann. And under that statue, there's an inscription. That inscription says, be ashamed to die until you've won a victory for humanity. When I was 13, 14 years old, when I first saw that, I had to take a double take. I said, what? What did I say? Be ashamed to die unless you won a victory for humanity. And I started thinking about it. I said, how do you win a victory for humanity? And so I had to break it down over the years. I said, you know, we can win victories in our neighborhood. We can win victories in our schools. We can win victories in our places of worship. Some of us may win victories in our city. Some may even win victories in our states. Some may win victories in our nation. And then, yes, still a few may win victories in our world. But all those words mean are be ashamed to die until you've done a little something to make the world in which we all must live a little better than it was when you arrived. Thank you, and God bless you.